Knobs are really hard to get off. Probably the first time they've been off in 60 or 70 years. It'll pull off then. Yeah, they both pulled off, so that's what happens. You can see they're stuck together in the center. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Vintage TV Restoration. You probably wonder why this set's still in the floor, not up on the bench. I might have some help to get it up on the bench. This thing is very heavy. It's a 1952 Admiral. Model's 57M10. 17-inch CRT. This set does have a Bakelite or plastic cabinet. I think it would clean up. I don't see any cracked places or broken pieces, so that's a good thing. That's one reason I bought this old set. That and the price. This is a TV and it's also an AM radio. See the AM radio dial there across the front. So that was a big thing back when this set was being manufactured. Companies were trying to do things to get folks' attention to buy their sets, so they started putting AM radio on a few. So let me give you a closer look of the cabinet in the back, and we'll peek inside the chassis just to see what's going on in there. There's a look at the cabinet, really deep, with a 17 BP4. Those are deep tubes. We do have all the knobs, so that's a plus. Place there in the AM dial. I think that's a cracked place, so don't know what we can do about that, but we'll see. See the dirt around the CRT bezel. Have the CRT tester on it. I've checked the picture tube before, but it's been a few months ago, and I want to check it one more time just to see if we have anything to work with. Got out the old 440 CRT tester. Socket will plug right in. And the first thing you want to look for, these two lights. If they both light up, that means the G1 and G2 are good. So we got that going for us. Now emission, it came up a little. Still in the bad range, so let's check cutoff. And actually cutoff is adjusting, so maybe if we leave this on a while, the emission may get up a little better. That's what we'll do. I'll give it about 15-20 minutes. There's a peek inside. Lots of dirt. Looks like everything is there, but just really, really dirty. While we're waiting for the CRT the emission to come up on it, it's really neat. That's an antenna. It's still in the top of the set. There's a better look at the antenna. Now, there was nothing connected, so I'm pretty sure that there was wires connected here. These are just clips that hold it tight once you slide it in. And this is an adjuster. You just move between either these two or all four. Meanwhile, we've come up a little, but not much. It's probably been 10 minutes or so. I may end up having to find a Sam's photo fact on this set if we can't pursue the restoration. But this is kind of a challenge when you got just a schematic. And it's not very easy to read. I don't know that I can even read those voltages on the tubes. Well, we got him up on the bench. Had to get a little help to do that. First, I'm going to pull the chassis out and give us a little more room to work. These knobs are really hard to get off. Probably the first time they've been off in 60 or 70 years. But what I find that works, you have two knobs here, and they kind of tend to jam together. It's hard to pull both of them off at once, so just take a screwdriver and gently prise back and forth. Don't put a lot of pressure, but that'll separate those two knobs. It'll pull off then. They both pulled off, so that's what happens. You can see they're stuck together in the center. Okay, we got them separated. So there's all the knobs. We'll put them in a safe place. They look to be in good shape, is what I mean by that. No chips or dings. Just really, really dirty. Now we have 4 screws here holding the chassis in. And that's part of the radio there. So it's right behind the radio knobs and the dial. I would think there would be a cover on that, but it really doesn't look like there was ever one on there. So anyway, let's get these screws out. Number 14 X light. Alright, I have the cabinet over here on the floor. See that foam around the glass? Part of it's missing. There's the rest of it. But I wanted to show you what's happened to it. Just dried out, disintegrated. So definitely need to replace that. And here's a look under the chassis. Some obvious repairs. You can see the black tape, the filter cap hanging in midair. Hard to believe, but that dial cord is still intact. This one too, it's still turning the tuning gang. At least part of the way. I'm going to take this picture tube out and we'll just set it over here on the end of the bench and hook the tester back up. Let it cook and see what the emissions come up to. There's the chassis number, 21Z1A, run 26. And I like the color, like that copper look. I'll take some photos of how this ion trap goes on. Make it a lot easier when we put this back together. Loosen this strap here. I think the tube just pushes through the yoke. That supports it. But we'll see. Strap just goes under that clamp. So I've loosened it. Actually got a piece of wood under it. I don't know. I guess that's, yeah, it looks like it's needed. So I'm assuming that's normal or stock. And we'll just get this strap out of the way. Lay it over there. Well, we have a bracket here and there, and that tube sets down in that bracket, so it kind of cradles the front of the tube, and we don't want to lift up on the tube trying to get it out. Be a good way of snapping the neck off. So I'm either going to remove these brackets on each side, or I might just take these 4 screws out. There's 2 here and 2 over there, and see if this whole assembly will come out. Well, we're getting there. I had to take off the focus magnet, and yoke's disintegrated. This cover has, like most of them do. So I think we're loose. So we should be able to pull the tube out the front. Well, not so easy. The CRT base will not go through the yoke. It's a tight fit, so I'm going to have to take the yoke loose, try to slide it off before we pull the tube out the front. Well, after carefully working this yoke back and forth, we got it over the base of the tube. That's off the yoke. All the plastic around the outer edge that this cover fastens to, all disintegrated. Now, that doesn't mean the yoke's bad, but we'll definitely have to come up with something for plastic cover or something around that. I'm going to hook that CRT tester back up to the picture tube. It is a 17 BP4. It has an Admiral stamp, code BG2, whatever that means. Maybe 1952. But it's an RCA tube, which happened a lot back in those days. Instead of using a B&K again to hook up to this picture tube, I'm going to use the Shango CR70 and just using the universal adapter. Filaments are on 1 and 12, G1 is on 2, G2 is on 10, and cathode on 11. And to set up for the universal adapter, F1 is on 1, F2 on 2, cathode 3, G1 4, G2 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on black and white. The minus 36 is a bias on this tube. So we're on 6 volts. Put the filaments on 6.3. We have a nice glow there now. Alright. No heater cathode shorts, no G1 shorts. Cut off. It's trying. Seems to be setting pretty good. And emission's about like it was on the B&K tester. But it is climbing, so we're going to give this a few minutes and see what happens. We lost a lot of the DAG coating off of the CRT, so I've been picking up the pieces here and putting them in the trash. Basically picking up a piece of paint, and it tends to want to break when you try to grab it. We'll take a vacuum cleaner and get the rest of that up. Well, here's some over here I just seen. We're up in the green now. Now I'm sure the life test is going to go downhill, but let's try it. Yeah, there it goes. Not real fast though, so I think we can produce a picture. Okay, I'm going to do some rearranging here. We'll put the tube, we'll stow it away in a safe place, and then we'll pick up this garbage here on the bench. It's broken off the yoke, and get this cleaned up some. Tube over here, and the bags of hardware, the back, the antenna, the cabinet, and I've also wrapped some tape around that yoke where that plastic had deteriorated. Still got to be careful because that's a good way to get a good shock. Those exposed connections there on the back. The speaker's disconnected. Wires hanging in the cabinet here. So I'm going to take the speaker out because this set has a radio on it. That might help us in troubleshooting. Even if we can't get the TV, any action out of it, we might be able to hear something through the radio. So I thought this was pretty interesting. They've got clips that push in with a screw on each side. And the speaker just slides out. And they have drill cloth on it. And here's a speaker jack right here on the chassis. So I took the plug off. It was still plugged in. So I'm going to hook this plug up to the speaker wires. First we'll check the speaker and make sure it's okay. But if it is, we'll hook that up. And we'll have us a speaker we can see if we get any sound. I'd say original speaker, there's an Admiral part number, 78B59-2. And just checking resistance, and we've got 4 ohms, so it's not open. Now it may not sound good, cone may be bad, but maybe we'll get something out of it. Yeah, I think the cone is a little worn. Got a big hole in it right there. First check's going to be the power transformer. And right here we are on the schematic. So we should have 320, that's center tap, so we should have 600 volts or so across pins 4 and 6 on the rectifier tube. So we're going to just pull out the tube. We'll put our meter on pins 4 and 6 and see if anything's happening. Okay, we got 1 meter lead on pin 6, and this is pin 4 right here. I have a clip lead on it, so I'll have to hold it down in there, but let's see what we get. Syncor Pyrite. We're about 100 volts. So we should get 500 volts or so. Okay, got 527. So we have a good power transformer. At least that winding's good. Now it has another winding here. It goes to the filaments. But I'd say we're good on the transformer. And we have dial lights on the radio. And I see one tube lit up. We confirmed that the power transformer is okay. Alright, just as a quick test before we get the chassis in position to do some in-depth troubleshooting, put my test socket here on the rectifier tube. We should have 300 volts on pin 8 of DC, and I'm at about 100 volts, less than 1.5 amps. Well, we got 225. That's better than nothing, but not quite enough. Yeah, we're up to 260, and that's on 110 volts AC. 4 volts leakage, that's not bad. So we're definitely producing some DC voltage. I wish somehow I could get this tuning gang to work on the radio. Be nice to hear it work. Oh, there we go. Just the pointer that was misaligned. It was scooted all the way to one end and jamming up. So.
Kentucky wins at Shepard, the freshman, scored 32 and hit the game winner as the Wildcats beat Mississippi State. Cats host Arkansas Saturday. The NFL Combine continues with teams continuing with top prospects. On-field workouts start tomorrow with D linemen and linebackers up first.
So the radio is working.
Reds don't have a game today.
Next thing I'm going to do is put the test CRT, try to get it mounted to where we can hook the yoke up and the socket, and then if we do get something going on the set, we can tell what's happening. And I got to figure out some way of positioning this magnet to where it's out of the way. We get the tube mounted and get this all figured out, and then we'll get started. Here's our test CRT. Got the yoke on. And there's my CRT mount. 2 pieces of masking tape. I think that'll hold though. Seems tight. And before I tip this up and start doing some troubleshooting underneath, I'm going to check all the tubes. The rectifier tube's good, as I mentioned, but I haven't tested the output, horizontal output, or the damper, or any of the tubes that would produce some high voltage. So let me check the tubes, and I'll get back with you when I get those tested. The only thing that kind of confuses me, this horizontal output tube, the schematic says a 6CD6. The set has a 6BQ6 in it, and that's not a sub for a 6CD6. But this schematic does have a note there above it that I can't read. Anyway, the tube is good. Nothing wrong with the tube. I'm assuming it worked in the set or it wouldn't be in there. Now I have purchased a Sam's, found one on eBay at a reasonable price, so we got the Sam's coming for this set, and maybe that'll clear up some of the confusion on that tube. When you switch from radio to TV with the function switch on the front, and the filaments light up on the horizontal output tube. Back on radio, seeing the filaments go out. Well, I think I'm wrong on the tube, because the cap on this tube is too large for that lead to snap onto. So I just tightened up the cap on the lead and put the original tube back in. That's probably the correct tube. We'll know for sure when we get to Sam's on this set. We can tell more, but so I think that's the correct horizontal output tube that's in the set, and it tests good, so we're going to go with that. Well, that's a good stopping point, so that's going to do it for part 1 of the 1952 Admiral Restore. Thanks for watching. Well, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, how about giving us a like and subscribing to our channel? Thanks.